In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a set state action. So this is an example of a set state action, where my mouse enters the button and a pop-up appears. When my mouse leaves the button, the pop-up then disappears. So this is quite a typical example of an action. I have a button or an overlay, I roll over it, and the pop-up appears. So I'm going to show you how to do this. If you look at the finished result here, you can see that I've got a state action set on my button, and I have a target of my pop-up layer, and the visibility is set to true whenever my mouse enters the button. So let's start this from scratch. I'm going to use a button that exists already in the data control palette. I'm going to create a group which will act as a pop-up. So let's just make a box right here that has a fill color. And then I'm going to insert a piece of text inside that says pop-up. I'm going to name my layers a little nicely. I'm going to call my group pop-up. And I'm going to lock the children so that I can no longer access the inside. All I care about is the pop-up outside layer, and I'm going to be toggling the visibility like this. Okay, so before I set up my action, I want my properties to be in the state that they should be before the action takes place. So what set state actions do is they change the property or multiple properties of an element. So in this example, I'm going to roll over my button and the visibility is going to change from false to true. I can also have multiple property changes such as color, text value, stuff like that. But we're going to keep it simple in this video and just talk about one property change. So I'm going to set my pop-up at invisible right here. And if I go to my button, I'm going to go to the Actions tab. The Actions tab is where I set up my action. So if I go Add Action and select Set State, there are quite a few different action types. There will be different videos about them. I'm not going to cover them all in this video. So if I go Set State, I now have the ability to set a command. So what a command is the thing that invokes the action to happen. So that could be a click, a mouse down. Mouse down refers to your mouse click to actually physically be down. You're pushing it down with your finger. Mouse up is when you let go of your mouse. There's all sorts of other ones. Right click is one which is new to IntelliViz HTML5. But for this example, I'm just going to go all the way down to mouse enter and leave. This is the equivalent of roll over and out in the previous version of IntelliViz. So what I'm going to do is on mouse enter. So when my mouse enters the button, the pop-up's going to appear. When my mouse leaves my button, it's going to revert back to how it was before, which was invisible. So I'm going to click the pen here to start recording. So what this is whatever happens while I'm recording will take place whenever my action is invoked. So currently I see a red box around my stage. So currently I'm in record mode. So what I want to do is I want to go to the pop-up layer and I want to set my visibility to true. And I want to click the check mark, which represents finished recording. Don't be confused with the X here. The X actually cancels the recording. It doesn't finish it, it cancels it. But make sure you press the finish record state. So I've finished recording state, and then you can see on my Actions tab of my button, I have an on mouse enter and leave action that targets the pop-up layer and changes the visibility to true. So if I go to preview and my mouse enters the button, my pop-up appears, and if my mouse leaves it, the pop-up then disappears. I want to take a minute to talk about duration. Duration refers to the amount of time in seconds it takes the action to occur. So let's say I want to have my pop-up fade in, not just appear immediately. I want it to fade in nicely, just to have that type of effect. So what I want to do there is I actually want to use opacity, because opacity refers to the transparency of an element, and it goes from 0 to 100, and that is something that you can have happen over time. So you'll see what I mean right here. So I'm going to actually delete this action target and create another one. If I turn my pop-up back on, visibility back on, I'm going to go to the list tab. I'm going to look for the word opacity. If I make opacity 0, it now becomes fully transparent. If I increase that over time, you can see that it becomes more full. So for this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my mouse enter the button and have the opacity of my pop-up increase from 0 to 100 over a 0.5 second duration. So it will appear to fade in nicely. So as I did before, I want my original properties to be set at 0. So I want it to look like what it's going to look like before my action takes place. So on my button, I'm going to go to edit mode. I'm going to go to my button, go to actions, and record an on mouse enter and leave action again. And on my pop-up, I'm going to go back to the list tab, and set my opacity at 100% and finish recording. So if I look at my button action, I now have a target of pop-up, which is the same as before, but the opacity goes to 100%. And what I want to do is I want to set this duration to take place over half a second. So if I go to preview and I roll over my button, you can see that the pop-up now fades in rather than showing up immediately. If I want to add another property change to my action, I can. If I record and I go to the pop-up and I change, let's just say, the color to green and finish recording, you can see now that I have multiple property changes inside one action. It's important to know when you record again after you've done one recording, it doesn't overwrite the property changes, it just adds to them. So now when I roll over, the opacity increases to 100% and the color changes to green. Okay, so that is a set state action.